All right, good morning. So I did a very quick remote view and I thought I would come online and talk about it. And as many of you know, the United States has struck Iran. Now, what I want to be clear about is what I have said is that this was an operation that had been planned years ago, that the United States had attempted for years to broker a deal with Iran. And after the buildup of Hezbollah troops in Lebanon, and Hezbollah had begun taking over the government of Lebanon, the government of Yemen, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So the Middle East became very nervous. In terms of the legacy, Obama was not the most peaceful president. He fought in Afghanistan for 8 years, bombed the Houthi rebels, which were being funded by Iran, which killed a lot of children through drone strikes, as did Saudi Arabia. These skirmishes caused a lot of deaths, but the main thing was as long as Iran was feeding these wars, paying for Hamas in Gaza, the Israelis and Palestinians were never going to have peace, because that wasn't the agenda of Hamas. The agenda of Hamas was to kill everybody and create a caliphate there, right? So what happened was that Iran became an unstable element in the Middle East that prevented any kind of stable trade. This was beneficial to Russia because Russia and Iran were trying to thwart trade routes, right? So one of the things I talked about a couple of years ago when I started working as a remote viewer here on this channel, sharing my data and my information, was that we would talk extensively about trade routes. We would talk extensively about the importance of trade routes and how everything goes back to trade. Everything. And I don't think that has really sunk in for my audience, even though it's probably the most used word on this channel since I have been making videos on this channel, that think about roads being built. And what would you do if you were a delivery driver and you had a route where you were supposed to be dropping off milk or something, but every time you tried to drop off the milk, there was something in the road and you had to get out and move it and get out and move it. So blockades, embargoes, fighting over who gets to use the roads. And so what happens is that new roads get created. And so there's no infrastructure that unites African countries. So China came in and said, well, we'll build roads, we'll build infrastructure in order to have an economic investment in a part of the world that has not received the love and attention that it needs, right? So that was China going in and creating new trade routes. The Abraham Accords is a new trade route. And it's a trade route that will unite all the Middle Eastern countries, and it's a trade route that Iran and Russia want control over. And it's a trade route that the West wants control over. So you have the West wanting to control this new trade route, and you have the East trying to control this new trade route. But the feeling when deals were made between the United States, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Israel, Jordan, and Egypt, the pan-Arab states, the agreement that they would all get along and we would build these roads and these industries of trade, and cities of industry or oasis zones, going back to the original model from Saudi Arabia, the Saudis, where you had these places that you could travel to and roads joining them together where people could simply do peaceful trade, and it was agreed that nobody was going to fight, even if they didn't necessarily like each other outside of the oasis, right? So this is the structure we're talking about for what will be the Abraham Accords, going all the way from Dubai to Israel, Jordan, the West Bank, Palestine, Gaza, etc. And it won't happen as long as Iran has a hold in those areas. So it was inevitable. It wasn't something that could be avoided. That's what the data shows. And we should move away from politics. And now it's being sold as this accomplishment from Trump. But people have to remember that Trump was opposed to this, that he did not support this, that he had tried to work with Putin and Iran, that he was taco, Trump always chickens out, that it was actually the Democrats that had come to this conclusion. Yes, Obama did try to pay them not to kill people, the Iranians, and we learned the hard way that that didn't work after October 7th and the buildup of Hezbollah in Lebanon, taking over Syria, moving into Egypt with the Islamic Brotherhood. So phase 5 was prepared over a course of years. This kind of military operation takes great cooperation. They had to work with United Arab Emirates, Israel, Jordan, Egypt, meetings that were taking place with the Pan-Arab states, choreographing months and months and years of meetings and building for what would become phase 5. Phase 4 is removing Putin, because Putin is not someone that can be a part of the Abraham Accords. He is not a good partner for the Abraham Accords, but it had to be done judiciously. Removing Putin had to be done judiciously. And that is happening now. And that is what today's remote view is about. Putin is being removed now as part of phase 4. You know, I didn't start off my doctoral degree thinking that it was going to wind up with me building peace zones and offering to be an ally to people like Jared Kushner and Elon Musk, because I had originally given everything to the Democrats. And I don't like the way Elon talks to his daughter, being a Democrat. But I came to learn from this experience as I worked on my doctoral degree and tried to get a committee together to submit my doctoral degree for this rebuild. I learned something from this experience, and what I learned was that sometimes we must create alliances and work with people we don't always agree with if we want to get anything done. And the fall of Iran was necessary. I know that's not the argument by progressives right now who took money from Iran. And they will have to answer for that in the future. But this had to happen. If we truly want peace and open trade in the Middle East, Iran had to fall. The main thing I wanted to say today is that it has been brought to my attention through remote viewing, hope I don't get anyone in trouble, that Elon Musk has come to agree with me. about phase 4. But I understand you, Mr. Musk. I understand you. Mr. Musk was trying to say that it would be very, very hard for us to remove Putin because of his popularity and his power and how deeply he's embedded in his church and in his intelligence agencies. And he has an iron control over Russia. Even if the U.S. had wanted to remove him, we can't guarantee we would succeed, and we can't guarantee we can control what Russia would turn into, a nuclear power, if Putin falls. And so what I'm hearing, Mr. Musk, is that what you're saying is that he must be removed judiciously, but that you've come to understand he must be removed. And I thank you for that, and I agree with you, sir. So this will be done very carefully. It'll be done with tweezers. And the best that Putin can hope for his legacy is that he build oasis zones between Ukraine and Russia. And let that be your legacy, sir. Because based on the remotes I'm receiving, you are being squeezed out. Let this defeat be a win for you, sir. Let us extend the Abraham Accords to Russia and Ukraine via oasis zones at the border. That is what Elon Musk is telling you, sir. That's what I'm telling you, sir. That is what Mr. Zelensky, President Zelensky, is telling you, sir. It's over. That's the remote. And to my benefactor, thank you, my king. This is today's remote.